Okay, so there's a couple of different ways to do a voiceover in Adobe Premiere for this project. The first one, I think, is the easiest and the one that I recommend if you have Audacity installed. So one of the first things you can do then is you basically take this plug, this USB plug, and you plug it directly into the computer before you have any programs open that you're going to use for the audio. So obviously you heard the Windows notification that there's been new hardware put on here, and it's detecting. It takes a couple minutes for it to detect like where the hardware is, etc. But there it is. Secondly then, I'm going to open up Audacity, which is my audio editing software that I use at school. Students that are taking TV broadcasts have used this before. They may not remember how to use it, but that's the purpose of this tutorial. So if I open up Audacity, what'll happen is I actually have to choose this as a source. And sometimes it says Sound Mapper or Realtek Audio. As it turns out, because I plugged this in first, Audacity automatically detected it as the audio source. So the thing that I'm going to test first is just to make sure that my levels are decent for this so that I can record here. So I'm going to pop my headphones on and try to get a recording out of this. This is an audio test to see how the levels are. So I'm actually looking at the levels on the screen here, and when I'm looking at these waves, those are pretty good waves. I actually like the size of them. If they're much bigger than that, you're going to start leveling out and have like blast noise on it. Conversely, if they're too narrow, you're not getting enough volume. So I'm also going to see if I can't listen to what the voice said to see if there isn't any stupid white noise in it too. This is an audio test to see how the levels are. And given that test right there, that's a pretty good clean sound that we want. Now I don't really want that to be my recording. What I actually want to be my recording is me reading one of the slides that we have. So I'm going to minimize that, and I'm going to open up the presentation in which I'm going to be reading things. Now the benefit of doing it this way is that I can take as much time of blank noise in the audio interface as I need to say what I need to say, and then I can use that audio file that I export later in the Adobe Premiere project. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. For television and radio broadcast, for this career pathway, the required classes are as follows. Introduction to Communication, Principles of Radio, TV, and Communication is the name of the course. TV and Radio Production 1, Audio and Video Production. And then last but not least, TV and Radio Production 2, Mass Media and Performance. These are the required classes for this career pathway. So now I go back to Audacity, because that's where I was recording. I check my timeline, and sure enough, there's my audio. Now, if I actually listen to it, for television and radio broadcast, for this career pathway, the required classes are as follows. Introduction to Communication, Principles of Radio, TV, and Communication is the name of the course. TV and Radio Production 1, Audio and Video Production. And then last but not least, TV and Radio Production 2, Mass Media and Performance. These are the required classes for this career pathway. Done. All right, so one of the things that I can absolutely do too is I have a whole bunch of white noise here at the front. Not white noise, but blank audio. I can just select it and delete it, and it slides the timeline all the way that direction. Last but not least, there's some empty space here at the end. I don't really want that at the end of my audio file. So I can simply select that, hit the delete key, and it's gone. Now, the next thing that I need to do is take this audio track and export it, because I can't just send an Audacity project into Adobe Premiere, but I can place an MP3. So the way in which I do that is I go to File, Export, and the option here is to export as MP3, and that's the easiest one to do. I select it, and it says that it's untitled, and I'm cool with that, but I'm going to call it Voiceover. And I hit save, and it asks me for metadata. That's not important in this video. So I'm just going to hit OK. And sure enough, if I navigate to my desktop, there is an MP3 file called Voiceover. And if I right click on it and I say open with VLC Media Player, it'll actually play it. Now I'm going to pause there because I can hear it in my headset, but it's not coming out of the speakers, which is absolutely fine. But the sound quality of it is pretty darn good. I'm going to take that file and put it into my project folder for Adobe Premiere, and we're ready for the next step. Okay, so now that we have recorded our voiceover in Audacity and we've made an audio file of it, we have to go back into the Adobe Premiere project. And you might notice a couple things. There is an audio track that's muted here, and the reason it's muted is we didn't want this audio to be heard when it was an overlay early on in the project. In fact, I'll skim over it like that. But that said, this takes us to the end of the timeline where we need to insert a couple of slides that are currently not there. Now, I've already edited the end of the timeline. It's exactly the right moment. Students in my class, you're going to have to do your razor technique in your transition out. Nonetheless, so we need a file that I alluded to in a previous video or a previous part of the video. And it is available right here. And it is called slide number 2. And I showed you guys where to get this. So now that I have this in my project media browser, I'm going to add it to the timeline because it's what's supposed to come next. Now, if I move the timeline over it, you notice that it's not the right size. We already know 2 different techniques on how to resize an item like this. If you click over it, you can right click, and this one isn't doing the right click part. So I'm just going to cheat and go over to underneath motion. I'm going to go to scale, and I'm going to make it so that it fills the entire screen like that. So now it's the right size. Now, this is the point where we need a voiceover. My job was in the previous video was to just simply read the slide to describe what classes were required as part of the television and radio broadcast requirements. So I made that audio file in Audacity and then I exported it. Now I need to go get that audio file. So I'm going to click import and I'm going to go back to my project file here. And I had the audio file was called voiceover.mp3 and here it is. So I hit open and that's actually the voiceover that I want to play during this. So now that I have the audio file, if you can see in the lower left-hand corner, there's the audio file in the project browser. We had already trimmed off the white noise at the beginning that we didn't like in the audio file. We'd already trimmed off the stuff at the end that we didn't want either. So now we can simply click and drag it into this audio track right here. We don't want to drag it into audio 2 because that's already been muted. We want it in the audio 3 track. Now, we wanted this to be the background sound of what was going on during this. So what would happen if we played this is you would hear my voice saying what's on the screen. But let's watch it. So notice that the JPEG file isn't on the screen long enough. The picture isn't there long enough. So the benefit of this is we already know how long the audio is by looking at the green audio file here. All we have to do if we want the picture to match it is we just click the edge here and we drag it all the way to the end of that. And now these 2 files match. You'll actually hear the audio as it comes in. So you may not be able to hear that in the video tutorial, but I'm reading the slide as it's going through. And the benefit of this is you know how much audio you need. Now you can just slide the end of the JPEG file to the end of the audio file, and you have the right amount of time there. So that is one way to do a voiceover in this, and that is to have gone through the process of doing all of your editing work for the audio in an audio software format. There's another way to do a voiceover that's easy as well that we're going to get into for a separate video. Thank you.